So good morning. Today we're headed to Ramona Falls. There's a river crossing where we have to kind of scramble across some logs, but it shouldn't be too bad. So we scramble across that, and it's about 3.5 miles to the falls. Got up at 4 a.m. because after doing some planning, discovered that the falls are probably going to be in full sun or partial sun, which is even worse, by like 9 o'clock. So we want to make sure that we get there before that happens. Now I know I've said no B-roll, but I felt it was really important to show you this river crossing in case you ever wanted to make this hike yourself. As you can see, there's no bridge, and I had to scramble across these logs in order to get across the river. Not hard, but I wanted you to know. So we're at the falls, and it's pretty spectacular. It's really very, very tall, but very, very spread out. So find a composition, get set up, and I'll tell you all about it. So here's like the obvious first composition. I've got some logs here in the foreground, and I'm probably going to end up making this shot 4x5. I'm going to crop it to get rid of some of that dead space at the bottom. And I'm also going to get a lot closer to the falls. Right now I'm pretty far away from it and managing to squeeze it in like a 24 millimeter or so. But I want to get closer and eliminate some of this dead space down here at the very, very bottom. It's really dark here, which is nice. There's no direct light on the falls at all. And I'm at ISO 400. I'm a little over half a second, 0.6 of a second. And f8 is plenty for my depth of field. With this wide angle, it'll get everything in focus just fine. I'm about little over 1 2/3 stops underexposed, and I don't mind that at all when I'm dealing with waterfalls. So I don't want the highlights of the falls to be too bright and overexposed. So my goal is just to keep that in control as best as possible. So I do have a polarizer on the lens just to cut the glare a little bit, because those rocks are really, really shiny. I like a little bit of the sheen, but again, I think either all the way polarized or all the way off it just takes too much away, or makes it just too bright and shiny. So I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. So I think you'll be able to see it on the back of the camera okay. I just tried it, so let's do it again. So this is pretty much polarized all the way, and as I rotate it, that's unpolarized. That's basically just all that glare and shiny spots on all the rocks as the water's on them. And then as I continue to rotate it, and there it is, all the way polarized. So I'm thinking that somewhere around here is where I want to be. Just a little bit, but not too much. So unlike a lot of waterfalls, like the big ones, where I call it like the one-shot wonder, falls like this give you an opportunity to get up close, and you've got like multiple small falls, so there's compositions within compositions that you can find. It's not just let's grab the entire falls and call it a day. So I'm standing in the middle of the stream. It's kind of luckily I got waterproof boots on. If not, I would be like really cold, because I can barely feel my hands. It's with this, the water is very, very cold, and the spray coming off is keeping it pretty chilly. But I got a really nice composition I want to show you. So basically I'm in the middle of the stream, right, basically facing right up at the waterfall, and I've lowered my camera a lot, right around 20 millimeters, maybe a little bit less. And so my foreground's right here, and it's going to lead up. I'm not going to get the whole waterfall, but I don't need it because, you know, up at the top's really not that interesting. So my composition is going to have, you know, a lot of leading lines with all of the water at the base here, and then all the way up to the back. So the big curtain of waterfalls will be at the back of the frame. I think it's going to look really nice. So here's the shot, and I'm still tweaking the composition. I'll know which one I like the best when I can actually see it on the computer, but there's a lot of nice photos to be had right here. This is definitely a case that without a polarizer you wouldn't get very good photographs, but with a polarizer you're able to like move that glare off, just add just enough sheen to the rocks to really make those greens pop and make the waterfall really, really stand out. If without a polarizer, it would be awful. It would not be good. It would not be good at all. Because I'll show you some of the photos. I did some unpolarized and then totally polarized and then just a little bit. So you'll see the difference between those. So this first photo is totally unpolarized, and you can see the incredible glare on the rock. This one is totally polarized. There's no glare whatsoever, and it's really dark. And this one's kind of in between, and it's the look that I like best. So for anybody that wanted to make the hike out to Ramona Falls, if you're in the area or you travel here, just a few tips. If you want to photograph the falls, I recommend you definitely bring a jacket. It's August, and it was really cold at the falls, at the base of the falls when we were in the shade. So you definitely want to have a jacket and maybe even some gloves. So another tip is if you wanted to get in the middle of the water, you want to have some kind of waterproof boots. And you definitely want to do the loop. There is a loop, it's an out and back, but there is a loop that happens after you get to the falls. So you get to see just beautiful scenery. You're right alongside a nice little creek, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The hike both ways is fantastic. And another tip, final tip, would be start your hike early. In the summertime, you don't want to get there and there be any type of sunlight directly hitting the falls, because most of it is in very, very, very deep shade. And because it is in deep shade, a little bit of sunlight can ruin your photo, because the sun on a clear day, and in summertime there's a lot of clear days. So like today, there's absolutely not a cloud in the sky. If we would have arrived at the falls with the sun peeking through the trees and just highlighting parts of the falls, it'd have been a wasted trip. So we're here in August. I would say as long as you're at the falls by 9 a.m., that gives you probably 20 or 30 minutes easy of good, safe light. Obviously, if it's an overcast day, it's not a consideration, but if it's a sunny day, get there early. If not, like I say, you're going to be sad. Another interesting little tidbit is that this is part of the Pacific Crest Trail. So when you get done hiking, you can tell your friends that you did the PCT, just a small part of it. So if you need to be at the falls by 9:30 in the morning, what time should you start your hike? Well, that depends on how fast you walk, obviously, but it's about 3.5 miles from the parking lot to the falls. It's not really steep, and with the exception of the one river crossing, it's a piece of cake. So for an average person, I would probably give yourself about an hour and a half to make the hike to the falls. Bring water. It's always a good idea. And then make sure you take the loop on the way back. So always make sure you check when you park, if you're going hiking in Washington or Oregon, that you have the right passes. This specific trail for Ramona Falls requires a Northwest Forest Pass. Now you can get the passes at ranger stations or any type of outdoor company that does, sells backpacking equipment, things like that. They'll have it. REI has it. Sportsman Warehouse will be able to sell those to you. You can even get it online. So if you're traveling from out of state, you can just Google it and get one online. So it's easy to do, and it helps take and maintain all of our parks and trails. So that was Ramona Falls. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Think about subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. And we'll see you next time.